All right, looks like people are showing up. Let's get going here. Hey, what's up, guys? How's it going, Robert and Mark? Glad to be back live. Took a little bit of time off while we were at Maker Central, but finally back. I kind of got back and had a lot of work to do, so that's why I didn't do a stream last week. But we're back, ready to rock. So, and Mark's here. That's cool. So, for you guys that maybe didn't see the posts, what we're going to do today is cast some shredded British pounds. So, Mark and James Garwood both gave me some shredded British pounds currency. So, oh, that one's open. So we're going to be casting that up. And before I left, I also was in touch with Mike. Oh, there it is. Mike over at Stone Coat Countertops. Carl Jacobson kind of put us together, and Mike wanted somebody to kind of do a little bit of testing with the Stone Coat Countertops epoxy for like turning purposes, just to kind of see how things go. So I got a ton of it. They sent me like one of everything that they have. And a lot of people might, Alumilite is kind of my favorite. I'm just kind of doing testing for them. But if it works good, then I might start using it a little bit. So it's just one of those things. I know there's a ton of epoxy companies and resin companies out there, and I'm not going to be doing testing with every type of epoxy on the market. I just kind of, it's pretty cool that Stone Coat is just north of me up in Oregon. And they have a great YouTube channel. So I kind of, it was really not much of a problem for me to do a little bit of help, testing stuff out with their product. So we're going to be messing with that. And it kind of works good with the shredded money because it's a slower setting resin. Alumilite being, even the slow set is kind of a fast setting resin. And I don't usually like using the Amazing Clear Cast, which that's also long, an Alumilite product that's a slow setting one, but I don't really use it. I don't like it that much. So I thought this would be a good test. And so what we're going to do is make some pen blanks using the currency. And so I have a few molds in the oven. We're not going to do a ton of tests. I have a lot of resin, and I'm going to be doing lots of different tests with the Stone Coat, but I thought we could get a couple of them, going, a couple of tests today. So I have if you guys saw it, I have a big silicone pen blank mold that I made, and I like it because it's got really deep channels. And what I found with shredded money and things like that, it tends to settle. So you're best off making sure that you have enough money to fill up the entire blank and then have a little resin on top because it just tends to kind of settle. So having more shredded money, if you're going for like a super packed effect, which I usually do for things like pen blanks, you kind of want to overshoot it and have like more resin and then let that money kind of settle so that, when you cut the blanks, you're going to be wasting some of that resin. It's just going to be clear. But the whole blank, what you're shooting for is going to be all that money. So you kind of overload the money part and add a little bit extra resin, cut off the excess, and you should be good to go. So let's see here. The other thing that I want to do, one of the big things with the Stone Coat is, can you pour it in large amounts? That's one of the really awesome things about Alumilite Clear Slow Set. You can pour like any volume of it that you want, and that's one of the reasons why I use it. I don't have to worry about it overheating. So Stone Coat has they've got a ton of different resin formulas that they sell. We're going to be using one of them, I think for the pen blanks, we're just going to use their we're going to do a test with their just regular like the countertop epoxy, the thing that they started with. Then we're going to do one, they have a product called casting epoxy. And I guess you can pour larger amounts with that. And then they have another one that's called Super Cast. And that one's supposed to be it's supposed to allow you to pour like really large volumes, but I'm not sure how big that volume is going to be. So that one's going to be kind of fun. We're going to be pouring a gigantic blank, and we're going to do that today. We're going to do a 6-inch by 6 or 8-inch PVC pipe, and we're just going to pour it all at once and see what happens and see if it can hold up to that size all in one pour. So we'll do that one last. I've never worked with their epoxies, so I really don't have a clue. They don't have a ton of information, and it's definitely not specific for like turning purposes. So they have a ton of videos. If you're making countertops and doing that kind of countertop stuff and like resin river tables and things like, thanks Dad. He's blowing stuff off over there. resin river tables and things like that, they have a ton of content using their own products, and they have exactly, you know, how to do it right. But for turning blanks, it's a little bit of a different story. So some of the stuff that we find, man, really? Seriously? Some of the stuff that is important to us, like, you know, exactly when the gel period is going to be, is not really something that they necessarily know. So I don't really know how some of this stuff's going to work. I believe that the working time is around 40 minutes. That's what I assume, judging by their like instructions and stuff. So it should be pretty fun. I'm excited to try it out. And thanks again to James and Mark for hooking me up with some shredded British pounds. It's awesome. We should have some fun. Let's see here. Thank God it's not Scottish money. Is Scottish money better? Let's see here. Let me just stop real quick. Let's see if James was supposed to come in. I'm not sure if he's here. I see Mark, obviously. I want to kind of sort of wait for James, but oh, there, James is here. Sweet. Okay. And I know that you guys over in the UK, James and Mark, are kind of, it's late. So I think what we're going to do is we're just going to jump in and get the shredded money stuff going now so that you guys can watch. And if you don't want to stick around forever, then you guys can leave. Real quick, I'm going to go tell my dad to quit doing that because you're ruining my stream. Hey, Dad. 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 Yeah. Can you quit blowing stuff off? What? I'm trying to live stream. Can you calm down the... Thank you. Okay. I gotta bust out the whip sometimes, you know, you guys. You gotta tell people what's going on. Anyway, hey, what's up, Doug? Lots of people. Sweet. So anyway, what I was saying is let's get this stuff going because I know that you guys are up late and I don't want to make you wait, you know, 2 hours for me to pour some pen blanks with with the money. So what I plan to do for the pen blank test, we're going to just pour the individual ones in that silicone mold. And what I plan to do is use the regular countertop epoxy, which is going to be the one that really can't handle very thick pours. But I'm thinking like a 5.5 inch long pen blank. I think it'll work. So we're going to do a couple of blanks with that. I have a 4 blank silicone mold. We're going to do 2 of them with that and then 2 of them with their casting epoxy, which should be able to handle a little bit larger. That should be no problem for pen blanks. So let me think here. We got a lot of things going on. It's probably not the smartest thing for me to be doing 50 things at once with a product that I'm not used to on my first time back. But hey, that's why we do live streams, to have fun, right, guys? So let me stop, and I was going to look at the comments a little bit here. One thing. So many of you may be, wondering why I'm not really talking about Maker Central. Sunday, I have a video coming out where we kind of wrap up everything, and we had lots of footage and all that stuff. So just wait for Sunday's video, and I kind of go through a little bit there. Later on, I'll probably kind of talk a little bit about the trip and all that stuff. But like I said, I know that there's people that are up late watching, waiting for some pen blanks to be made with this shredded cash. So let's just dive into that. First things first. Now, I've already written down how much of everything that I need to do. I thought it'd be kind of smart to think a little bit ahead. The way this stuff works, as far as I can tell, like I said, I'm a little in the dark because I've never used it, and I don't know, they don't use it in this fashion, so there's certain things that I don't know about. But I believe that you're going to be wanting to mix it by volume. I don't think it's a weight mixture because I can't find any weight, any talk about weight in any of the instructions. And they always use, just mixing cups by volume in their videos. So one thing, if you don't know what Stone Coat Countertops is, they have a YouTube channel and they make this epoxy, but they do countertop restorations and build resin river tables and do different stuff like that. Their YouTube channel is absolutely phenomenal. They like, if you're into making countertop stuff or like the resin river tables, highly recommend go check out their channel because they have excellent videos on this stuff. And also using their product. They sell, they make and sell an epoxy product that the reason they got into that, why they're selling it, is because Mike wanted to have a product that was built to his specifications because he was making these tables and doing that work. And then the YouTube thing kind of came, later on, and they started selling the product because it was tailored to that kind of use. So that's just a little bit of a backstory as far as I understand it about Stone Coat Countertops. But definitely, either way, check out their YouTube channel because they have really good information on casting stuff, different types of effects, especially if you're into like the resin art stuff. A lot of what they do is really, similar to that kind of, thinner layers. It's actually something that I want to do in my shop eventually. Let's see. Yeah, I'm going to just kind of position this camera over. See that workbench in the back behind the lathe? All this stuff. These things are just or not even MDF. They're particle board. And I was like, you know what I could do is just dump some resin on that. And that's exactly the kind of stuff that they do. There's like interior restoration. So you can take an existing countertop and just basically, I don't know why I never really thought about this, but you can just dump epoxy on top and you get a, refinished countertop with whatever effects you want. So they do a ton. They have a ton of videos. They do live streams. So definitely check out their channel. Subscribe to them. So there's a link to it. But anyway, let's get going here. So, like I said, we're gonna start out first with. Let's see here. Yeah, this is their just regular. They're like kind of like the thinner product. What you're going to be using for just kind of thin layers for countertops. So I'm going to bust these out. It's a 1-to-1 ratio on this product only. The other ones that I have, that's a 2-to-1. So just a little bit of a heads up on that I also need to remember, keep in my brain. But I guess while we're kind of getting things going here, I can kind of talk a little bit, man. Maker Central was ridiculously awesome. It was by far best event that I've been to. It's not like I've been to a billion different events, but I've been to a lot of like turning symposiums, and I went to Maker Fair Bay Area a few years ago, and hands down, Maker Central was just phenomenal. It was just a perfect event, tailored to like YouTubers and all that kind of stuff. Exactly what we do, around here. So it was a really fun event. I had a blast. I mean, the people over in England are just amazing. We actually had a run-in with the, not a run-in, but the idiot Americans that don't know how the British airports work. We had a bunch of liquids. They're pretty like stickler about it. Like in America, I don't know, we've just never run into that. And we were in the middle of like the security line having to, like unpack everything in our suitcases. And they were like, they didn't even get like huffy or impatient with us at all. They were just super nice, helped us. I mean, and that was just like kind of how it was everywhere that we went. Everybody was just super friendly, super nice, and just accommodating, and obviously all the makers were amazing, but we had a really great experience over in England. It was cool. I'm getting this stuff open, so I'm just unpacking these things. There's not much to look at. I guess I could maybe set this thing up so you're looking at something, but all right, so I got my jugs open. One thing that I like to do when I open a new resin kit, I like to put A and B on the caps because you don't really want to put the A cap on the B bottle. So I'm going to mark these. Oh, I did that wrong. Oops. B. Unfortunately, the caps are black, so that doesn't really... And I am screwing this all up. This one is A. So it just helps. You don't want to... I've actually gotten caps stuck on the wrong bottle before because I put the wrong one on. So it's just kind of a little tip. Now, I kind of did a little... I'm going to show you how I did this. I don't work with volumes usually, which... I much prefer using weight measurements because they're dead on accurate. There's no question that I have equal amounts. When you're doing volumes, the cup you're using could be, I don't know, not highly accurate. There's a couple things. I'm not used to it. That's not what I do. So one way to figure out how much resin you need to use is you can use like things like rice or something like that, pour it into your mold. And I'll just give you kind of an example real quick here. So I got a pen blank mold. I don't know exactly what volume I need. So you just fill up, each one or just one of them with your, rice or beans or something kind of small like that you can kind of fill up. And then we got it pretty close. Then pour it into your mixing cup whatever the volume is. I kind of missed there, but you get the idea. That'll kind of tell you, once you get it kind of leveled out, how much volume of resin you're going to need. So it's just kind of a little trick. Another way you can go is like Alumilite's got a volume calculator that's a little bit more specific to Alumilite itself, but in a pinch you can kind of use their math and it'll work out okay for most resins. It's not going to be that far off. Maybe add a little extra just to make sure. So that's what I did. It looks like and I want to overshoot this a little bit, so I'm going to be going with for each double, we're going to be making two pen blanks with each one of those types of resins. So for 2 of these blanks in that other mold, I'm going to go for 6 ounces total. I just kind of did the calculation earlier. So 6 ounces. Let's see here. Mark's asking, how do you deal with items in cast creeping through the turn? I don't exactly know what you mean by that. Is Jamie here? Jamie, what's up? Oh, Jamie Page. We got to hang out with Jamie. What an amazing human being. We had fun with Jamie. He turned up the peacock feather bowl. He finished that up for me, so definitely check that out. Did you post it on Facebook and Instagram both, right? Make sure to tag me if I didn't see it. Okay, so let me get a mixing cup. The other thing is you can't just use a cup if you're doing volume measurements, because it doesn't work. There's no volume measurement. So I'm going to be using one of these little paint mixing cups for this. And let's get this this is the first one back after like 3 weeks. So I apologize if I'm kind of not with it totally. Actually, when I opened up the streaming software, my entire computer crashed, and I was like, wow, this is not starting good. Oops. I don't even know what I did. It wasn't my fault. It just blew up in front of me and blue screen to death, and I was like, oh great. Luckily it came back okay. So I'm actually going to mark on this because there are like 50 billion different measurements, and I need to find the ounces. So they're over here. I don't need a silver Sharpie. That's not going to help me. So I'm going to mark where I need to be so that I have a good idea. So what I'm going to be doing, this one again, their regular casting resin, or I'm sorry, their tabletop one, whatever that is, the regular one, is 1:1, okay, is the mix ratio. I want 6 total, so I'm going to pour in half, at 3 ounces, the first one, and then 6 ounces is the second one. So I got a couple little marks there that I can see on the inside of my cup. All right. So I don't know if it really makes any difference which one you pour first. Some people like A, some people like B. Typically, I'm going to go with the thicker of the two, but they look a little bit pretty much the same thickness. So I'm going to move my marks to this side so that I can see down in there. And we'll pour it. It's a little bit thick, I'll say. Now they use a mechanical, like a drill type mixing thing. I'm not going to mess around with that. I'm not doing, a giant bucket of this stuff. So we're just going to use a stir stick, and I'm going to go for 3 minutes stirring it. Again, this is slow setting, so, if you got 40 minutes of working time, you can spare a few minutes to to mix it. You want to make sure it's mixed properly. And I find that epoxies, generally, you're better off mixing longer just to make sure that they get mixed right. So again, 1:1 on this specific one. The other ones are going to be a 2:1, but this one's 1:1. And I got my line right there that I'm going to be shooting for. This might be a little bit more resin than we actually need, but I'd rather overshoot with this. Like I was saying with the shredded money, I've found that you're better off adding, going for more blanks and adding a lot more of the currency than you need, and let it settle out. That way you don't have to use weird, pressing it down, compressing it, and doing all this stuff. It'll just kind of settle out anyway. And as long as you've put enough shredded money, in your mold, as long as that, once it all settles down, it equals 3/4, you got your pen blank. It's good to go. And what's going to end up happening, is you're going to have a little bit of clear, dead clear resin on the top that you can just cut away. So I find that to be the easiest way to go myself. All right, so we poured our resin in. Hopefully I didn't mix those up, did I? No. Got me thinking they both look the same, and I'm like, did I just pour two of the same one? No. So we're just going to mix this up. I'm looking at my clock. It says 3:25 right now. So we're just going to keep mixing until it's about 3:29. While I'm mixing, I can look and see. Yeah, I know. I was messing up the... Oh, wait. Hold on a minute. Oh, you're right, dude. I did screw up. All their bottles look the same. They need to have different colors of things. Thanks for pointing that out. So we're going to throw that in the trash because that I screwed up completely. Casting. Okay, so I got to get my stuff in order here. Too many things going on. Okay, now we got the right ones, guys. We got the right ones. How did I do that? I'm an idiot. Okay, let me do something real quick. We're going to reset, guys. We're going to reset. Wipe that off because this is actually part B also. I'm going to put B on this one. See, okay, here's an easy way. With Stone Coat, their part A has a white cap. Way smarter than me. We're good. We almost screwed up, guys. We almost screwed up. Luckily, somebody's paying attention out there. Good call, Mark. Is it Mark? Yeah, thanks, Mark. Okay, so we're going to restart, okay? Woo! Dodged a bullet there. Again, I'm going to mark my cup. I just threw that cup in the trash because I don't even want to look at that cup anymore. So, 3 ounces and 6 ounces. All right. And this time, let's pour the A in first. Let's see how that works out. That's weird. Anyway, let's try the A. Again, this is the just regular countertop epoxy product that they sell. So we need to get to that little line. Ah, yes, this one's a lot thicker. Wow. This is kind of like Amazing Clear Cast. One thing that you can do to help this out is to heat it up a little bit more. It is a little bit chilly in this shop. Right now, I mean, it's not cold, but it's only 70 something. I think if you heated this resin up, it'd probably thin out, but I'm not a huge fan of thick resin. It's not my thing, but we're getting there. I think that's probably pretty close to that 3 ounce mark. Uh-oh, who's here? What's going on? Oh, there's conversations happening. Okay. Oh, somebody's selling something. Let's see what my dad says. Okay, and then 6 ounces is the mark we're going to hit. And 6 ounces. All right, there we go. That's what happens when you leave your door open, guys. Salespeople come and try and sell you stuff. Okay, so we got our cup, and we actually have it correctly mixed. So now I'm looking at the clock. Now it's 3:29. Whoa, that's thick. See that? Yeah, that's going to take a little while. That's not the worst. This is kind of how Amazing Clear Cast is that I've found. That's one of the reasons that I don't really use it that often. But I mean, it's fine. It's starting to mix up a little bit. One nice thing about thicker resins, and I believe this is the case, some of you guys in the UK, I know a lot more people use Amazing Clearcast in the UK. One of the reasons for that, I think, is it's not as susceptible to moisture issues, but that's not the question. For some of you guys that use Amazing Clearcast, it is a little bit thicker than a Alumilite Clear. Do you find that it's easier to keep things suspended in the resin? Like you don't have to wait, all the way to the end when it's like thickening because it's already thick. Is that something that you guys find that, people that use that a little bit more? Let me know in the comments. Try and keep my eyes on things. Well, I think that it's better to throw all that Part B away because the hardener, they were two different hardeners. I didn't pour the same one in the, it was two different products. So it's junk. It's not going to work right. The whole point is it may work technically, but it's not going to give me the results that I need. I'm doing testing with these products, so it needs to be the correct product in the thing. I can't screw up the mixture. So I don't want to use it. It still sinks, huh? Do you guys, here's another question for you guys. Do you find that it doesn't bleed as much? If you're doing like color swirl, you don't have to wait for that. I'm just trying to see if there's any advantage at all to using it. The thing that I really don't like I said, the two things that really kind of, I've used it, a couple times. The things that I didn't like was it was really thick to stir, and like your wrist, like unless you're using a power drill, your wrist gets tired. Even this stuff is kind of thick and I don't love it. Alumilite and liquid diamonds are very thin, and it's just, you can mix it fast. The other issue I have with Amazing Clearcast is the like demold time, which means how long you need to leave it in the pressure pot is like 18 hours or more. That's ridiculous. I don't have time to be leaving stuff in for, a full day basically. Overnight's one thing, but 18 hours, that's too long for me. For somebody that's trying to make blanks and crank them over, that's why I don't really like it. Now this stuff is going to be like a 24-hour, I want to say demold time. So that is another drawback. For me trying to produce lots of blanks, that doesn't really work too well. But the other nice thing is, because it is a long open time and set time and all that stuff, you really shouldn't need to pressurize it. Now I'm going to pressurize these shredded cash ones because that's just the smart thing to do with a bunch of junk in there. But the rest of them, I'm not going to pressurize. We're just going to, pour it in the mold, let it sit, and see what happens. And it should be pretty much bubble free as long as you don't cover, have any materials or anything above the resin that would trap air bubbles. So it should be okay. Should be okay. Yeah, the demold time. It's not my favorite thing. Let's see here. You heat up in the microwave, huh? Huh? Cool. Hey, what's up, Ray? How's it going, man? I know you. How you doing? What's the temperature like? What part of Texas do you actually hail from? But in general, it should be, I think you should be near central Texas. What's the temperature like out there right now? I take it back. I'm just guessing you're around central. I don't know that for sure. Don't get a ghost line in the cast. Yeah. You know what, guys? Actually, speaking of the ghost line and the, suspending objects and all that stuff, I even tried polyester resin, which I can't stand that stuff. I pretty much don't use it, but I wanted to see, would it change anything if you're using, polyester resin. We tried epoxy, we tried polyurethane, and so polyester resin still got a line. So I don't know if it's just something that I'm doing, but if, what the test was, casting something that would otherwise sink, like you pretty much need to let it like harden, fully, that first layer. And I don't think there's any way that you can do it. I even got one that was like at a gel state and I still got a line. So it just, I don't think that there's any way to do it. Now, if you don't cut it or sand it or do anything like that, then you're fine. You can't see anything. And so there's a lot of people that do multiple stage pours, just making, you know, a square or a, you know, pyramid or, you know, something where when you take it out of the mold, that's it. And that works fine. There's no problem there. It's just when you start cutting into it, then you get a line. And I know that there are ways where you can pour, if you pour it very quick, where it's still liquid, that first layer, and then you pour another one over, but you're using like a flour or something very light, then you're fine, you know, but it's not going to sink. Anyway. All right, so I think we've been mixing this pretty much long enough. So let's get out some of this shredded cash, shredded British pounds, and let's dump it in. Here's what I'm going to do also. Another little thing that I would recommend. So in our cup, like what I want to do is I want to have about as much money as I have as resin, you know. So we're going to kind of fill this cup up. And one of the cool things about the British pounds, and I think I have one other bag. I had to ship this stuff home, and the other package is at home, so I only got 2 right now. But I got, you know, and I think these are different. I don't know what notes these are offhand. I can't remember. Maybe Mark can help me. This one's kind of green. This one's kind of pink. And then this one's kind of blue from James. So I'm not sure. I don't know what denominations each one of these are. But I'm thinking let's just go with, we'll do 2 different ones. So we'll use James. James is a little bit more shredded long-wise. Let's put his in the other batch. So we'll just do kind of half and half here. So can you guys see? I'm just kind of grabbing a handful. You could also just use like another cup to kind of dig this stuff out. That's going to be a smarter, that's what I usually do. That'll be a lot better. Not going to get it everywhere in here. Grab a cup, pour some in, and then I'm just going to kind of mix it all up. So we're going to have a couple different colors in this set. Bust open the pink. Did you guys? Oh, I just cracked my cup. Stupid cup. Let's get a heftier cup so my ham hands don't break it. All right, and then we'll just kind of do that. It's kind of a big chunk. Now, there may be some moisture in this, which could cause some issues. I don't know. I didn't dry it out in any way. So we'll have to kind of find out about that. But now all I'm going to do is just dump this in, and we want to mix it in to our resin. I'm going to do like a little bit at a time, and then mix it in, and then pour a little bit more. We've got a few clumps here, so I'm going to try and kind of break them up. Let me scroll down and see. I missed some. Green are dollar pounds, 5 and 20. Nice. Pink, oh, pink is 50. 50? 5, 1, 5, 10. Okay. All right, so you guys saw what it was. So we're mixing this in. We want to mix it in. The reason I'm doing this is because you want to try and get, you know, the resin like on all sides of this stuff. So you want to mix it into your resin. Nice and good. Now, James mentioned, he mentioned that you can't sell products, or now I don't remember exactly what he said. Maybe if James is still here, you can explain this. And I mention it as a caution because he said that you couldn't sell stuff that was made with this shredded money. And I don't know if that applies to like every type of British pound money. I'm almost certain that doesn't apply to American dollars. But maybe you can kind of mention that just so people kind of know. So I'm probably not going to be selling these. What I'm thinking I'll do, just because I don't want to get anybody in trouble. Like, frankly, I don't really think the British government or whoever's in charge is really going to come and arrest me in America for doing anything. But I don't want to get you guys in trouble somehow. So I'm not going to be selling these. But I think what I'll do is we'll just have like a giveaway. I obviously want to turn these because I want to try out the resin, but I want to, you know, probably do a giveaway for the rest. I think that would be cool. It'll be open to anybody, anywhere in the world. I might save a few, because I got a lot of this money. Might save a few for my patrons and do some giveaways for them too, separately. But I thought that might be kind of a cool way to get around that, and not just, you know, make blanks that, because the problem is I don't have enough time to turn a bunch of pens, so myself. So I'm going to try a few out for the resin. But so we got a nice thick mixture right here, right? It's that, you know, the resin was already thick, and now we got the money in there. Thick mix. Okay, so because we have a really long working time with this stuff, I'm actually just going to leave this in the cup and set it aside, and we're going to pull out that other type of resin and then go for it. British money is different. They give it away to non... Yeah, okay, so you can't sell it for profit. So Mark's like, I do it all the time. I'm not going to tell on you, man. But like I said, I don't want to get you guys in trouble in any way. So I think that we'll just do a giveaway for the stuff that I make with it. I think it'll be a little bit easier. I might even save some for the end of the year or something like that too. But like I said, there's a lot here, you know, and I don't want to get anybody in trouble. That would just be terrible if somebody got in trouble because I was selling pen blanks. So now the other one, and I'm going to make sure that I don't pull two of the same type of resin. Okay. I marked the other one. I'm going to just put a little red mark on the other two bottles in the set so I don't mix these up. So here's one of them. This is the casting epoxy. I'm just going to put a little line so I know these two go together. Casting epoxy line. All right, so I'm not going to mix that up again. The other ones have another mark on them. The other, there we go. So now again, this one's a little different. This is going to be a 2-to-1 mixing ratio. You can see one bottle's a lot smaller. So let me bust this open. We already opened up the other one. Poured some out on accident. Uh-oh. Hope I didn't get Mark in trouble or anything. James is like, wait, what? My only thing is, like, I'm just wondering if, you know, once you change it somehow, like, I don't know if that for profit thing. I'm just thinking, like, I don't know. It's kind of crazy that you can't do anything with it, but... Okay, so this one is a 2-to-1, so we're going to, again, do the 6 ounces, but this time I want to put, out of the bigger one, we're gonna take that to 4 ounces on the cup, and then the other one, 2 more to 6, okay? So I've marked my cup, 4 ounces, we're going to pour that one first. I'm going to dump out, I think I put something in here. Actually, it doesn't matter, it's the money dust. That's going to happen no matter what, so... We're good to go. Let me get a little cloth here. This one's a little bit thinner than the other part A. And, you know, that's an interesting thing because Amazing Clear Cast is technically a bar top epoxy coating, which is basically kind of this, you know, similar to what that other one is. It's kind of a bar top epoxy. So that's kind of interesting. They're both kind of thick like that. Whereas this casting resin is a little bit thinner, which is good for casters, I think. I think most casters out there would rather be using something thinner. It flows around objects if you're, you know, casting stuff in it, and it's just, to me, it's just easier to work with, you know, in general. Now our B, we're going to go up to the 6 ounce mark, 2 more ounces. So... Oh, that one's a little bit thick right there on the B. I don't know. Nice thing is it's pretty similar to the other one. So I guess, you know, if you're used to one of their products, the other one's going to be pretty similar. All right, I think we got that nailed. And so, like I said, I prefer weight measurements, but it's not like there's really no, it's not like this is that hard. It's just I don't typically use volume, so I'm a little bit, it's a little different for me, but they both are, you know, pretty equally easy to do. To get some more mixing sticks. Man, I'm gonna have to cut some more of these guys off. I like to cut, I use the tongue depressors rather than just the craft sticks, because you get a nicer piece of wood. But I like to cut either way. I like to cut the ends off so I have a square bottom to it. This one this one does seem a little thinner. I think that part A was thinner, and it makes it pretty easy to mix. So I think we're good. I'm just gonna mix this stuff up. It's 3:45. We're gonna mix for about 4 minutes, something like that. I don't know. Just give it a good mix. Like I said, if you got 40 minutes or more of working time, then you may as well just make sure it's nice and mixed up. Yeah, no, I don't really care to worry about total boat. That's the other thing, is I don't want to do a bunch of testing with a bunch of different epoxies. I mean, realistically, they're all kind of, they're all going to be pretty much the same, you know, give or take. But there are a couple of questions. You know, Stone Coat came out with that one that is meant to be poured in larger volumes. And so that's, you know, for people like us that are trying to make, you know, larger kind of bowl blanks and stuff like that, that's an interesting thing to kind of see. How does it pour? How does it work? And like I said, out of all these things, like I don't really want to, I'm perfectly happy using Alumilite Clear I mean, it works great. I do use liquid diamonds for a longer open time, and it just has all the properties that I want, so there's no need for me to look further. You know, I'm definitely happy to help out with a fellow YouTuber compared to just another epoxy company, you know, resin company. I just don't really want to waste my time, you know, messing with stuff when I use Alumilite Clear Slow Set for 99% of what I'm doing. So just kind of helping out a little bit and seeing how this works. But like I said, they're kind of local, and they're also up there on YouTube doing some great work. You know, with the community and all that stuff. So it's a company that I'm more than happy to help out. Stone Coat, you know, use their products, try it out. They did give me like an affiliate code. So there's like and with that code you can save like $10 on your order if you want to try this stuff. Again, I'm not selling it. I'm not trying to make it a sale. It's just they gave me that stuff, so may as well mention it. So there's a code in the description there if you want to try it out. But here's the thing with Stone Coat. They have, if for whatever you're trying to make, they have a product and they have a video explaining exactly how to do it with their product. That's the nice thing I would say about using this product for most of the stuff that they do on their channel. They show you exactly how to do everything in great detail with their product. So it's kind of one of those nice things, you know, if you're going to be making countertops or river tables, I mean, they got a product that'll do exactly what you want, and they'll show you exactly how to get the effect you want too. So kind of a nice thing. All right, so we got 1 more minute or so on this one. This one's definitely a lot thinner, like, you know, mixed and all that stuff than the other one was. So that's kind of nice. I do like that a little bit better. Now, I don't know, you know, they mentioned that it's food safe, but I haven't seen any certifications. You know, I just did that cutting board video. So like I said, I kind of just shy away from messing with food with resin. I don't know enough about it to really, and I don't want to even mess with it, but they do say it's food safe. I don't know exactly what that means in this case. So that's kind of an interesting thing. Obviously they're making countertops, so like I would say probably like an indirect food contact is probably definitely good with their stuff. But as far as, you know, if you're making like a cup, I don't know if that's if it's that food safe or not. Neon pink and white blank. Well, I already did one of those and I gave it to Pam. Okay, so we're gonna get a cup of, let's do a little bit more of the pink this time and just kind of top it off. Oh, actually, no, we're doing James's stuff this time. Sorry. I'm on top of things. Don't worry, guys. I sort of know what I'm doing. I'm going to blow this cup out just so we don't have any, we don't mix the dusts. Oh, totally blew it right out of my hand. Okay. Good to go. All right, so let's get James's stuff. And like I said, this stuff's a little bit different. It's kind of longer shreds. So that's kind of cool. Got a little bit of a different look to it. I'm gonna dump it in this cup first. I know I could just dump it straight in there, but I want to kind of get, like I said, about equal volume of the currency to resin, somewhere around in that general neighborhood. Find works pretty good. I like to do a little bit, mix it in. And one thing I also want to mention is James actually has a video making a pen blank out of this stuff on his channel. So make sure to, if you haven't subscribed to James's channel, he's got some really good videos. So head over there. James, put up a link. Some a little bit say Bank of England on them. Nice. Put a link to your channel. Mark, you don't have a YouTube channel, do you? Am I totally missing out? I don't think you do, but yeah, you guys put links to your channels. If well, I know James has one. He's got some really good stuff. The two of the most recent that are just amazing are the 500 piece segmented pen blank and 1,000 piece for the, what was it? I'm going to your channel. Hold on a minute. Was it 1,000 pieces? I gotta look it up now. They were nuts. Like pen blank, 1,000 piece segmented pen blank for 1,000 subscribers. It's crazy. Here, I'll get the link here, just in case there's some kind of weird thing going on. There we go. Hey, what's up, Edge? How's it going? It was amazing, I'm telling you. Okay. No problem. We haven't really done anything. We're using Stone Coat Countertops epoxy. Guys over there sent me a bunch of their products to test out for kind of turning blanks, see how their products work and give a little feedback. One thing that's interesting about them, like I said, they had this product made to their specifications, and the nice thing is they actually can make other stuff. So they've come out with, they have a ton of different products. I mean, there's like, I want to say 4 or 5 different casting resin type, like epoxy formulas that they sell. And so they have like a chemist, and they can say, hey, we want, a product that does this, that, and the other thing. And so one thing that might be kind of interesting is, I'm going to give them feedback. They might actually come out with a product that if I say, this is, I didn't like this so much, or, it'd be better if you had something like this for this application. They might come out with something that's like a turning blank for, made for turning and has, different characteristics. So it's kind of cool. It's an interesting, pretty cool company up there. Yeah, so the trip was amazing. So it was 2 days of just amazing people, crazy things going on. I was pretty busy, honestly. I was doing a lot of demonstrations. So if you didn't know, I mean, Carl was supposed to go, Carl Jacobson, and he couldn't at the last minute. And so I had more demos demonstrating at Easywood Tools than I thought originally. So I was there a little bit longer, which is, it was fun. And then I also had that Q&A with Jim, Pam, and Jake. And that was pretty cool. It took a little while for people to kind of get started, asking questions. But once we got kind of rolling, hopefully we helped people out. It was pretty fun. Lots of people showed up for that. That was pretty cool. And then I did a little talk at House of Resin booth talking about stabilizing, which I got to be honest, that wasn't my best talk. I had like a equipment malfunction, cut my finger while I was there. Didn't go as smooth as I would have hoped, but hopefully, again, hopefully I got good information to people and helped out. But it was amazing. There were so many, just you know, all the YouTube creators and all the people that came and people that watch, you know, our videos. Just everybody was awesome. And the NEC Birmingham is awesome. I mean, that whole thing is just set up for these types of convention things. And so it was, I mean, just awesome, smooth. Everything went great. Hotel was right there next to the convention center, and it was a really cool location. The only thing I wish the weather was a little warmer, but I kind of totally didn't pack correctly for that trip, but that's okay. All right, so we got our two things mixed up. Like I said, this one on the right is their casting epoxy. This one is more their like countertop thing. So a little bit thicker. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of fill up. We'll see how much I have, but we're going to kind of try and fill these things up as high as possible. And then when we pressurize it, and while it's, you know, setting up and sitting there, it's going to kind of settle. That's what I've found with most other resins, is the money tends to kind of settle to the bottom, and then you kind of might have a little bit of a layer of just clear on the top of the blank. But it kind of, that's just kind of how things go. I've found when you're pressurizing these kinds of blanks. So I like to kind of overshoot it. That way you can just cut off that clear stuff and you got a well-packed money blank. Now another way to do it is you can just compress the money shreds in your mold. But I find that to be a lot messier, kind of a pain, and I'm just not as good at doing it that way personally. I don't like it. So I'd rather just waste a little bit of resin and not have to worry so much about that. Okay, get this other one going here. These are going to be cool. One thing that's neat, you know, American money, American dollars, they're just green, you know, like that kind of green and like off-white. So, you know, you only get like pretty much one color. You know, they're not that exciting. The British, and really a lot of other currencies are a lot more colorful. So these things, you know, we got some kind of pink tones, some green, some blue. Pretty cool. Looks like I'm going to have to kind of pull some out of that other one. I want to make sure that I want to make these about even. So, and I didn't necessarily, these are really deep channels in this mold. So I didn't need, I didn't know how much I was going to have, but I didn't need to fill this other one to the brim. So we're going to kind of poach a little bit from that one until we have it even. Now I do like to kind of sort of press things down a little bit in the molds when I do these. Just seems to kind of help out a little bit. That it gives you a better idea of, you know, what is the blank really going to look like? How much material do you have? But I found, like I said, I have tried doing that compression, you know, where you kind of put a lid down on it, kind of like coffee beans where you're pressing the stuff down. And I really don't, it just tended to not really work out and be a mess when I did it. But it is a different way to get kind of a little bit different result. You can definitely get more packed, you know, money in a blank like that, which works pretty good for pen blanks for sure. All right, so those are about even. Got a little bit more that we can kind of scrape off here. Let's get everything that we can in these blanks and these molds. I'm going to kind of switch out just a little bit there. Like I said, just kind of pat it down and we're good to go with that. And then we got now which were these $5 notes? Shoot, I'm all messed up. Which ones did you have, James? I can't remember. pat that down in there. All right, we're looking good. This stuff is kind of messy no matter what. Whenever you're kind of tossing in a bunch of little scraps of things, it gets kind of all over the place. But anyway, but like I said, when you have to use a lid on things though, I mean, you typically, eventually you can figure out what the like kind of perfect amount of resin and all that stuff is, so it's not like a total mess. But in general, there's almost no way to press something down and not get, you know, squeeze out. And I don't do a lot of that, and I'd rather not make that big of a mess, so I usually just don't do it that way. And I don't find that the benefits really, for shredded money blanks, there's not a lot of benefit to doing it that way. It may get slightly more, you know, what would you call that, densely packed, but yeah. Okay, so we got it. Used to throwing cups away. So again, I'm going to be pressurizing this. Maybe you could not pressurize it. I don't know. I think that you're much better off using pressure with this. There's no way to get those small air bubbles that are throughout this resin out of here at this point. So I would highly recommend tossing money blanks in the pressure pot. Realistically, I recommend using a pressure pot for pretty much everything. You just end up, you know, it's kind of a nice insurance policy against air bubbles, but especially when you're loading stuff up, even if you're using a slow setting resin, you know, you really need to use pressure or else there's just no way for those air bubbles to get out of there. And it works immediately, so you're good to go. So we got our pin blanks done. Now it's time to just kind of have some fun. And I'm probably not going to be using the shredded money on the rest of these because I kind of want to see, I don't want it loaded with stuff. I want transparent blanks really to see if there's cracking and kind of see what's going on, especially with these large ones. So what I have planned is, and I think it's already 4, I want to knock this one out. I got to get this thing pressurized. Let me finish one thing and then we'll move on to the next. All right, so that's going pressure. So what I have here is a piece of burl, and we're just going to add some of the Stone Coat epoxy to this. Oh, that's what happens. I hit this with the thermoset spray, and I've used it before and had some issues with getting stuff out. The Stoner thermoset, that's made for more like epoxy and all the other resins. And it's dry in there. So when you throw it in the oven, I think it bakes off this stuff and it's basically not, you don't have any on there. So that's probably why I had some issues with demolding things even after I used that. So that might be kind of a problem. I think I'm going to try using wax on that instead, because one of the problems with like epoxies tend to stick to molds like a lot more, and these molds are actually kind of old, so there's a high chance that it's going to get stuck in there. But the problem is I don't want to spray thermoset or, you know, any kind of mold release spray on this because it's going to hit the piece of wood. So I think what I'm going to do is you can also use paste wax, so I think I'm just going to add a little bit of paste wax on the sides of this. Silicone molds usually are a little bit easier, but epoxies are really hard on all kinds of molds. But I think that's what happened. That's why I've had some issues in the past. I've sprayed them and they didn't come out because it dried. Let's stop real quick, see what's going on in the chat here. You guys still talking about you can't even write on money? Wow. let's see, the open time, I think it's a good 45 minutes, maybe like an hour. We're kind of at the lower end of the spectrum for what they kind of recommend you, what temperature they recommend you use their products at. I'm at 71 degrees. That's kind of the lowest end. So I have a feeling that it's even longer than it normally would be, but I got to be honest, I actually don't have a clue. They don't have it written down that I could find in any of the instructions, what the like working time, you know, what we would kind of, you know, Alumilite says it's about 12 minutes. Like liquid diamonds, most epoxies are around 45 minutes. So, but I know that, you know, they kind of have it's going to be on the longer end. So I would say it's probably pushing an hour if you keep it kind of thin. That's just my guess. And I might do a test where I actually just mix it up and put it aside and see how long it stays liquid. So I know for each one of these products. I probably should have done that first, but I didn't. So I'd rather just jump in and cast some stuff. All right, so the next one, let's do a test with, let's use their casting. I think that, let's see, let me start my brain process over here. So for this blank, I think that their regular product, the one that we did first, I don't think it's going to be too big. It's going to overheat. This is probably going to be too much volume for that resin type. This may actually be a little bit too big, too thick for the casting resin, which I'm going to call that the middle one. The other one is they call it super cast, and that's a little bit more made for pouring larger volumes all at once. But I want to try the middle one on this one and see how that works. Just make sure, see if that, you know, if that size blank, like that's a 2" by 2" by about 6.5 inch long in that thing, but you know, we obviously have some burl in there, so it's going to kind of change the total volume. But I just want to see if there's any issues with overheating with that size. And again, we're not going to be pressurizing these ones. I'm just going to leave them out and see how that goes. You really have to pressurize. I would highly recommend pressurizing something that has like shredded money in it, regardless of the working time and the resin that you're using, so you can eliminate the bubbles. But before we move on, I just want to again thank Mark and James for sending in this awesome, or not sending it in, but giving it to me at Maker Central. The shredded British pounds. That's so cool. I really appreciate it. And we got more of it, so we'll probably do some more projects down the road. We only made 4 pen blanks today, but I'll probably be making some more on my own time, and then I might even do like just a video. Probably going to do a video on one of those blanks turning it, one of the pen blanks. So there'll be a video for that, but we'll be making some more blanks with that stuff for sure. Probably some different blanks as well. But thank you guys so much. It was great meeting both of you. I had a blast, you know, with both of you. So anyway, let's do some more experiments with Stone Coat here and see what happens here. Let's see. I'm going to make sure I'm not missing anything. The HDPE, yeah, you can get it like on Amazon. I get it at Grainger. We have a local Grainger, so I just have it shipped there. The prices are pretty reasonable at Grainger, and I know that I don't have to pay for the shipping because it's local. If you have a plastics company, like a Tap Plastics or something like that, local, you should be able to buy sheets of it there and have it cut and all that stuff. But I haven't used the stuff on Amazon. I think that Casey does use that, so I think it works fine too. I just don't know, and the stuff I use works fine. But I have links to that kind of stuff, as well as links to P-Town Subby and Lizard Blanks on my website. Let's see. If you ever have questions about stuff that I'm using for casting or in a lot of the turning stuff as well, and you're like, oh, what are you using? Where do you get it? Check out my tools I use page on my website. It's right there. Okay, so let me make sure that okay. We got our casting epoxy here. I want to make sure that I'm at this point, I'm pretty much going to put the other one away so I don't grab it on accident. I think that this one, like I said, their regular one is really meant to be poured, that 1/4 inch only. I think I'm going to do more testing and see kind of what is the limit to this stuff, But for now, I don't want to do any more tests with that. I think that the other ones are a better option for doing the types of things that we're going to be doing. Okay, so we're going to do that 2-inch mold. Let's see, I don't know how much that is. Now, again, I'm going to go with Alumilite's volume calculator thing on that. And it's basically, you're going to take length times width times height, you know, the three dimensions, and then multiply it times 0.554. That should give me a ballpark on how many ounces of resin I'm going to need to fill that cavity. So again, let me show you guys this thing. And I'm going to measure it even, just so we kind of have an idea. Now there's a big hole in this piece of burl. I'm going to switch to my other camera so I can see what's going on in the viewfinder. Here we go. So do you see that? That hole goes all the way through. I don't know if you can really see. Yeah, there you go. So, you know, we're going to have to kind of account for that. But basically, this is about 4 inches to the piece of wood, and then it's 2 by 2. So I'm going to add, like, let's call it 5 inches long to account for that little gap, and we should be over. So 5 times 2 times 2 is 20. So that's 20 ounces. Wow, that seems like a lot, but 20 ounces. And then we have a 2-to-1 mix ratio. I'm on the wrong camera. Let's go to the casting cam. There we go, 2-to-1 for the one that we're using. Again, this is the one that's kind of in the middle for how much you can pour at once. It's called the casting epoxy. And they even say on the bottle, pour up to 1 inch. Well, we're gonna pour 2 inches. So, but again, a lot of this stuff is this is talking about like pouring, you know, like large volumes, also like tabletops and stuff. So, you know, a 2-inch by 2-inch by 5-inch blank, I don't know. I have a feeling it's going to work just fine for that. So we need 20 ounces. Let's see, 21 is divisible by 3. 2-to-1, 7 plus 14, 21. Okay. So let me. I didn't get this one ready yet. So we're doing the 2-inch. Let me get my pen going here. 2-inch burl. So we're going to go 21 ounces total, which is 7 and 14. Okay, now let's see here. So I'm going to ask, and it's not going to be the first person to respond, but here's the burl chunk, and it's kind of it's one of those things where it's got like pinks and blues and all kinds of different colors going on in there, but pinkish purple I think is going to be the overwhelming standout color in the burl. I need to make something transparent. I don't want a bunch of pearl powders and all that stuff. I want to be able to see the resin if it cracks or does anything weird in there. So we're going transparent. What do you guys suggest? Anybody have any recommendations on what color we should use? I pretty much have just about any color dye that we would want. We just add a little bit. Yeah, I think Stone Coat is a little bit more expensive. I want to say, I was looking at their prices, and I think that you're looking at, so Alumilite, the way that I like to compare resins, I'm going to look at what is their like gallon form. You know, there's a lot of them that are like a super small amount, and then there's like a 16 or 32 ounce kind of thing that's also not that much. I like to look on like gallons, you know, 1 or 2 gallons. And that's a good level where, you know, if you're making really tiny things, you know, that super small amount is probably going to be a lot more than, you know, a gallon. So it's just as kind of an equal basis, I look at whatever the gallon or 2 price tag is. Alumilite clear is 160, but you get 2 gallons of product, of usable product. So it's $80 a gallon basically at that level. I think Stone Coat was like 90 to 100. So it is a little bit more expensive than Alumilite, but it's somewhere in that area. It's below 100. I'm pretty sure that like, now that kind of compares, I'm pretty sure West System, or is that right? West System, like you're looking at like 130 for like West System stuff. So it's not like out of the realm of, you know, it's not like overly expensive in any way, but it is a little bit more than I'd say Alumilite is. 10 to $15 more than Alumilite per gallon. That's not really that, you know. Yeah, there you go, 95 a gallon, about 15. Use the complement, well, pink is, okay, pink is one that I can't get. We can do red, like a very small amount of red. The problem is the way to get pink from red is add white, but the white is totally, that's a opaque dye. I kind of like green. I'm kind of thinking green might work. Oh, teal is, teal. Yes, you guys, ocean blue. I'm telling you, when they came out with this ocean blue, the Alumilite ocean blue dye, I mean, that pretty much solved the you know, what color should I use question. One person that doesn't come out to the streams as much is Steven. Man, teal was his favorite. He loved ocean blue. Okay, so we need, like I said, let's get a cup. I got to remember volume measurements. I'm so used to just grabbing a cup and putting it on the scale. All right, so move it to the casting one. So we need 14 ounces, and again, it's always good to, like, you know, measure things, mark things if you're not used to it, especially. So my ounce scale is over here, so we need 14, and then we need 21, which is right in the middle here. So I'm actually going to mark in the line there, and then 14. So I got my lines on the thing. We're going to go with the larger pour first, which is the part A, the resin. All right. And I don't know how, I mean, you want to be as accurate as possible, but I mean, if you're like slightly off, I have a feeling that you're going to be okay. You want to get, with any kind of resin, you really want to get it as accurate as possible, you know, whenever possible. But if you happen to be slightly off, I'm guessing that it's got a little leeway, you know, on these lines. Well, actually looking at that, I should probably add a little bit more. This is why I don't like volume. It's kind of like, oh, it looks pretty close. The scale doesn't lie. And there's probably, I could probably figure out, you know, a way to figure out, if you ever, and I did this with Amazing Clearcast, what I can do is I can weigh this and figure out, you know, what is 2 parts of whatever, how much weight is this compared to 1 part. And that'll tell you what the ratio needs to be for weight, if you ever want to do that. But I didn't get around to doing that yet, so I don't know it offhand for this one. That's going to be, the problem is though, you know, the volume thing, you have to get that pretty accurate. Yeah, it's kind of pinkish purple. So I think the teal is a good idea though. I think it'll look good. All right, now we need to come up to this line. So we're adding the hardener here. This cup might actually, this is way too much. I think I screwed something up. I totally screwed something up, guys. It's actually 0.55. I needed to multiply it by 0.554. Oops. Telling you, I'm just so much better. This is one thing. There's a lot of people that use a bunch of different resins and stuff, and they're like, oh, which one should I use? And they try, you know, lots of different ones. Man, one thing that's nice about just pick one and stick with it, because it makes things so much easier when you're actually going. You don't mess up as much. But we should be fine. We'll use the rest for. Maybe we'll pour some PVC pipes. See how that works out. Yeah, this is way too much. This is a big pour right here. That's all right. That'll give us a little bit of experience seeing, you know, what happens with this stuff. How warm does it get? All that kind of stuff. Doug, stuff too much food in your face. Don't explode, man. What kind of food? What did you have? Now again, they are usually, let's see, one of them, it's actually the Supercast, the one that can pour a lot. They actually recommend that you use a stir stick and do it by hand. And I think they say, like, you want to be mixing it for like 8 minutes, I think is what they recommend by hand. So that's one thing to kind of keep in mind. I think that the other two that they sell, you usually see them using a mixer kind of thing. And they still do that for, you know, a good 3 to 5 minutes, I think. So I'm just going to go 4 minutes. The clock was at 4:19 when I started. So we'll just keep going until we get to 4 minutes later than that. What was that, 23? Something like that. Maybe we'll go to 24. But that's kind of the key to all resins. You want to make sure that you get it mixed properly. That's usually people's problems with resin casting in general is lack of proper measuring or mixing. And then a lot of times the third most prevalent issue that you're going to run into is going to be a moisture problem. And that's especially with polyurethane resins and also with epoxies though too. Another thing that people don't really think about, you know, if you have moisture, so let's say you cast, you know, I got a couple questions from somebody that cast a pine cone and the blank just, it looked like it overheated. It cracked and it had a bunch of problems. And the problem is if you have moisture in there, what it ends up doing is it actually accelerates the cure also. So you know, with Alumilite, you can get some kind of white, you'll get like a chemical reaction and you'll have like white spots around it. But a lot of times you'll get that cracking because it kind of overheats. And that's, you know, that moisture causes that issue. It'll get it hotter and cure, it'll kick faster kind of, which is not something that you want. So that's your top three. I should do a video about that on YouTube because most people's issues, those are the three. One of the most prevalent with Alumilite is people buy Amazing Clear Cast thinking it's what I use, which is Alumilite Clear is what I use, and then they mix it by weight, and that product is not a weight mixture. So that'll screw you up if you blow the ratio right out the bat. All right, so we're mixing. We got a couple more minutes of mixing here. You know what I think I'm going to do is we're going to kind of set this aside. We got a little bit of time. I know we're kind of probably going fairly long, but you guys know me. I'm like, oh, it'll be like 30 minutes today. And then I'm like, oh, 5 hours later, we're still casting. I think what I'm going to do is, I know that I mixed too much for the blank that we're pouring, but that's the other issue is I don't go by ounces of resin ever with my stuff. And so I kind of, 21 ounces didn't even register as anything to me in my head. It's kind of like if somebody gives me like a millimeters or centimeters metric length, I'm like, okay, is that a car length or like an ant? So I didn't really think about it. I'm usually using grams, and I kind of have an idea of how much, you know, 1,000 grams, that's a pretty big pour, which is, this is probably about 600 or 700 grams. That's a pretty big pour. That would have registered, and I would have been like, nope, that's too much. Maybe I'll have to think about that a little bit differently next time. All right, 424, we're there. So we're gonna add a little bit of ocean blue, and we're gonna add just a very tiny amount. We're just gonna barely, like a pinprick, And we're going to add a little bit at a time until we get the hue. One thing I'm going to say, you know, some people use what are they called? Alcohol dyes, alcohol inks. And generally they work fine. I haven't used them myself yet, but you know, Heath Knuckles uses them, so obviously his stuff works fine. It's a good dye to use. Those are extremely weak, so you can dump a ton of it in there, and you can get odd colors like that pink hue. And other ones that are extremely difficult to get because these Alumilite dyes are super concentrated. So a little bit goes a really long way with these ones, which is kind of nice, but at the same time, if you're going for a really, really small amount, literally you want to use you know, a pinprick of dye if you just want a very light tint. So we're going to add that. I'm guessing that that's probably going to be pretty good. It's going to be a pretty light teal. Maybe a little more. I don't know if you guys can see that. I'm going to move to this other camera because I think it gives you a better idea of colors. Really quick here so you can kind of see what's going on. It's very, very light. Not much going on there. It's kind of like the Coke bottle blue, you know, that you see some people make. I think I'm going to add just a tiny, tiny bit more. So we're going to grab my toothpick again. I'm going to add a little drip here. Oh, that was a lot of drip. That's not what I wanted. So I wiped some of that off. So, I mean, really, there's not much going on that toothpick. Just a little bit more. There we go. I like that. Not a lot, just a little bit. We could go darker, but I kind of like this just kind of lightish color for this. So that's how you can do that. And like I said, with the Alumilite dyes, you know, if you're really going for super transparent and light colors, I really recommend just getting a toothpick out and putting a tiny drop on there and just add a little bit as you go. That's all you need. All right, so we got our thingy right here. Let's see here. I'm trying to get you guys that cool view of with the light going through. So you can see there's a nice little channel in the middle there. Okay, let's put this like that, maybe. How's that? A bit further out. Okay, and at this point, all we have to do is just pour it in. Forgot to put that wax on there, but hopefully that mold release that I sprayed earlier will work. I won't have to cut this thing off. There's nothing that's really going to kind of hold up the resin. I mean, the air bubbles should have plenty of, you know, space and time to float to the top. I'm just gonna. I didn't try to go easy on it or anything, but we're gonna see how this works without pressure. Now, I could easily pressurize this too, and it would work fine. But I think that would be one of the benefits of using this one is you got that longer working time. You don't necessarily have to pressurize it. It's flowing nicely around. Yeah, it might be a little bit darker, kind of darker than pink maybe, but I don't know. We'll have to see how that burl turns out. But I think this is going to look kind of cool. One thing that might be a good test with this actually is let's put some glitter kind of stuff. Let's put some of this, to be honest, I actually think I was gonna, in my head, originally I was gonna make this like a Twilight blank, but I wanted to keep it clear. Let's put a little bit of my Starlight glitter in there and just kind of see, you know, how does it sink like a rock eventually, or will it kind of stay suspended in this resin? Because I know some people have had some issues with different glitters and things. So let's just kind of push that down in there. We'll still be able to see if there's any like cracks or any, you know, problems, but this glitter will add a little bit of something to this blank. And we'll also get to see, does this stuff sink? You know, if you put glitter in there. So I've tried to kind of spread this out somewhat evenly throughout. So we got some kind of at the bottom, we got some kind of at the top. And we'll see. Now, you know, just because this glitter floats or doesn't mean that other ones, you know, are going to act exactly the same. But it'll give us a clue. Usually this stuff stays suspended in most resins pretty well. So what I'm going to do now is just, I'm going to move this out of the way, basically. Let me, got a little silicone mat that I'm going to put out over here. Now, again, I'm pretty sure that your demold time, you know, so how long you would need to leave this in the mold or in the pressure pot, I think for all of these resins that they sell is like 24 hours. Not like overnight, I'm talking like 24 hours. So we'll have to kind of see how that goes, you know, but I'm not going to be pulling those pen blanks that we made out for, you know, until tomorrow evening at like 5 o'clock. It's 4:30 my time, so I'm waiting until it's 4:30 tomorrow to pull those pen blanks that we made out of the pressure pot, just to make sure. So let's see here. I want to keep this thing, I'm just going to leave this. We're going to probably burn this resin, but I want to see how long this stuff stays liquid. So I'm actually just going to kind of set that aside as well. And then I think that let's see, it's 4:30. We only have time for one more. Let's do the big one. Let's do the big daddy, all right? I want to try their third resin, and the big thing with that is it's supposed to be able to pour, you know, large volumes at once. So we're going to go for a 6-inch PVC pipe, and we're not putting any wood or anything in there. We're just going to load it up and pour it probably about 7 or 8 inches deep. So that's probably going to require a bucket and but the only issue is they say for that one, they want you to use like let me read the instructions one more time, because I think that's the one that they say don't mix with a mixing thing. Yeah, using a stir stick. Specifically says to use a stir stick with this product. So for 6 to 8 minutes. I don't even know if I have a stir stick that big. Jeez. I don't have any of those like paint mixing stick things. Let's see. Hold on real quick, guys. I got to find a stick. I got wood and all that stuff, but I need to find something. Oh, that'll work. Thin enough, yet rigid enough. So like plywood or something. I got a piece of melamine. That ought to work. Hold on, guys. I gotta find us a mixing stick, or else this isn't really gonna go so hot. See if I got a piece of oak here. I think will work okay. We'll have to see. Worst case scenario, I got a thick piece of oak that I don't mind getting resin on. All right, now first things first, with this thing, we have got to spray the heck out of this, or else that blank is going to get stuck in there. So I'm going to be setting up the spray thing. I'm using Thermoset. Where'd it go? The Stoner Thermoset mold release is what I'm using, and that works for, you know, epoxies and all that kind of stuff. If I was using, you know, for that's not focusing. If I was using Alumilite, I would use the Stoner urethane mold release, and I'll show you that in a second here too. So, Thermoset number 497, I think is the right one. And then urethane mold release, that's what you're going to use for Alumilite. It's specifically formulated for Alumilite resin, for urethanes. All right, so we got the camera up there. Let's get over here now. I got to be honest, I don't love this Thermoset mold release. It's really, I don't know, it's almost like spraying oil or cooking spray or something. I don't love it. And it even has a thing, so it's kind of greasy stuff, basically, is what I'm saying. Compared to, I'd much rather, the urethane mold release is kind of like almost drier in a sense. I don't know, it's hard to explain, but just watch it with this stuff. Don't spray it on something that you don't want kind of an oily mess on, all right? But we are going to spray the heck out of this pipe. I'm going to flip it because this is the bottom and I want to really make sure that I get the bottom nice and good. All right, it also smells kind of funny. That's why I don't really love that particular spray stuff. I like the urethane one a lot better. All right. Now this is a PVC pipe cap from Fernco, is the company that makes these things. Got a little chunk of something right there. Get that off. But they work pretty well. I think I need to loosen that thing up a little bit. Let me get got a little drill thing, I think. There we go. Not a drill, but a handheld thing that'll screw that thing out a little bit, loosen it, and then let us get that pipe in there. But these things work pretty good. The only issue with these Fernco caps is they're kind of bulged up in the center, so you don't get a totally flat blank. You're gonna have to cut it flat if you want that bottom part to be flat, or you know, just stick it between centers and flatten one end. But it's not going to come out of this, you know, mold with the bottom being flat. It's going to have kind of an indentation. All right, so I'm squeezing the heck out of that thing. That ought to be good, but you don't get a lot of leaking with this thing. It works pretty well. I sprayed so much of that stuff that it's actually like liquid, and I'm going to dump some of it out. But, all right. One other thing that I'm going to do is spray the bottom of this thing. Make sure it doesn't stick to the bottom of it. Okay. Good to go. I'm going to put that over there. We're going to reset up the camera. I haven't done a gigantic pour for a long time. This is a pretty big one. So, I'm trying to think. We might have to actually mix up a few batches. I do have some big pails though. Let's see here. You got a big, which camera? Okay, we're on that camera. We got a pretty big pail here. Now, here's the last one. It's called Supercast. This is the one that's kind of made for deeper pours. Let me get my viewfinder so I can see what I'm doing. Supercast, made for larger pours. This is kind of the stuff, if you're making a resin river table, like that's what they made it for. Like those, you know, big void pockets and stuff, like, and you want to pour a pretty thick amount all at once. That's what Supercast was kind of why they brought it out. We're going to see, though, I don't know if this stuff can handle like a 6-inch wide by, you know, like, I think we're going to have to go like about 6 inches deep. Maybe a little bit over 6 inches. Just because frankly, I don't know if I have enough of this stuff to fill. We might end up using it all, and I don't want to do that. So we're going to do the minimum possible, like 6.5, something like that. First thing I'm going to do, though, is I need to know how much resin I'm going to need. And I'd rather just use this volume calculator thing. Real quick. Well, that doesn't help me at all. 30. Pi radius squared times height. Okay, so I'm just going to do this by math because. So 3 squared is 9 times 3.14 times pi radius. Pi r squared times height times 6.5. 184. I guess that was right. Cubic inches. Times 0.554. Again, I don't know if this is exactly right for this product, but it works for Alumilite, which is pretty close. So we're going to call that pretty good. So it's 100 ounces. How many ounces are in a gallon and a half? That's the question. $128. So we're gonna use most of this thing. 2 to 1. This is a 2 to 1 mixed ratio product. So 100 divided by 3. Let's just do 90. That way we can do 30 and then 60 because that's just easier math. I don't like mental math and fractions. Who likes fractions anyway? Okay, so cylinder, we're doing 90 ounces. So that's 30 and then 60. And let's see if do we got 30, 32. I guess we could do 32 and 64. That would be pretty close. Wouldn't that be 98? 30. 96. There we go. 32 and 64. We're going to do that. That'll give us 96 ounces. And there's graduations on that thing, so it makes things a lot easier for me. Okay. Are you guys ready for this or what? Actually, that blank's going to look pretty cool. Looks like some of the stuff kind of floated up on that. I'm gonna just pick up this camera and show you guys this from this angle. It looks pretty neat. A few of the pieces floated. The rest of it so far is just kind of hanging out there, but I think that's going to be a pretty wicked looking blank. I like it. All right. Let's see, where are we at here? Let's put this up a little bit. There we go. Are you guys ready for this? Big pour, big pour. I like big pours and I cannot lie. Dave likes fractions. I don't. I like calculators and easy math. Hey, Christina's here. What's up? How you doing? Oh, and Jen's here. Sorry, I didn't see you. I've been kind of focused on this stuff because I know that I'm going to probably screw half of it up if I don't really pay attention. All right, so again, we're using the Stone Coat Supercast, the one that's kind of made for larger pours that they got. The first one we're going to put, let's see here, 60, yeah, so I'm going to do the bigger one. It's 2 to 1 mix ratio. The first one, that's the resin part A, we're going to put 64 ounces in this bucket. This one's fairly thin. This seems about as thin as the middle part A one. Like I said, 64 ounces is what we're going with this one. Looks like we got it right. Hopefully the graduations on this cup are fairly accurate. I have no clue if they are or not. So, you know, in some cases, some of the, you know, if we have some issues, there could be maybe a problem with the graduations on these that could throw something off. I think it's okay. It's kind of meant for this thing, but I just want to mention that you know, this isn't like a certified measuring cup kind of thing. So I don't know. And then we're going to take this up to 96 ounces. Let me just look at this again. Yeah, I did pretty good there. Now another thing is the more volume that you're mixing all at once. I mean, you know, it generally doesn't need to be as accurate. Like very, very tiny amounts, it needs to be dead on. So I'm hoping that there's a little leeway with this product, but we're at 64 on the first one. We're going to go to 96 now. That's very thin, the part B. That's nice. I'm actually kind of anxious. We're also going to go the other way with this stuff. One issue that you can have, you know, and you even have this with Alumilite Clear Slow Set, you know, it's meant to be poured in very large quantities, so it doesn't really do very well if you're just pouring, you know, like the small tube in clear castings. It really needs to be at a really warm temperature. And even still, I wouldn't even recommend it, really. It's just not the best way to go. So we're going to go the other way with this stuff and see, you know, how does it handle smaller amounts? Does it cure? Is there issues or anything like that? So we didn't use it all. We're good. We still got quite a bit left. We're still pretty good. We got, you know, we only used about half of this stuff, I'd say. Actually, that's exactly what we did. All right, now let's see what I got. So it looks like I might be able to get away with using this mixing stick. I think it's gonna, because this stuff is thin. And I think maybe that's why they recommend using a stir stick rather than a paddle wheel. I think you probably could either way. So 445, let's see, I'm just gonna set a timer because they recommend stirring this stuff up for 8 minutes. So we're just gonna stir it up for 8 minutes, all right? Got my timer. So we're just gonna mix this guy up by hand. This is the fun part, right? Mixing by hand. I'm gonna move this bucket back over here so I can see the chat while I mix my bucket of goodies. You guys can just kind of stare at the side of me while I mix this stuff. How about that? Is that okay? Big bucket of resin. Hand cramp city. Yeah, well, this stuff's thin. This is not, this is like the same viscosity as liquid diamonds right now. Or I would actually even say Alumilite Clear Slow Set, like if it's super fresh, that stuff is actually, Alumilite's actually a really thin resin. The B side kind of thickens up a little bit, but if you, I don't know, I don't notice it in my shop keeping it above, you know, 68 degrees and using the pumps. Alumilite's a pretty thin viscosity resin as well, the Alumilite Clear. So this is okay, not going to be a big deal. I mean, it's not my favorite thing to mix resin for 8 minutes, but yeah, Doug's thinking what I'm realizing in my head. Okay, my fingers are kind of cramping already. Seasick. Yeah. We'll make it. What color is it going to be? I don't know, man. What do you think? We already did an ocean blue. Again, I'd like to kind of, I'd like to keep at least, let's keep the majority of it, which we're talking like 98% transparent, totally transparent. So we can do kind of the same idea where we just add a little bit, but I'm thinking one thing that we'll try with this one, I'm just curious to see how this goes. I'm not going to be waiting around till the end of the working time, whenever that is. I have no clue when it is anyway. And we don't have time. So, but what I'd like to do is dump a little bit, or, you know, probably, I don't know, dump a little bit off and add another color and then try and see if we can kind of swirl some in and see what happens. See if it, sinks or does anything weird, and so we can have a little bit of fun in there, but I just want to pour a ton of this stuff and see what happens, basically. Nebula, yeah. Red would be cool. That's a good idea. I like that. What do you think, James? Oh, more people. Let's see. Ah, Katie, I see. Okay. So you're in the wet South. Ugh. Let's see here. Where did James answer? Waiting to see what James says about color. Because really, most of this episode was brought to you by James and Mark. Is Mark still here? Either of you guys have an idea? I'll go with the color that you want to see. Since you were so gracious to give me some British pounds to cast today. Can't wait to see how those things turn out. And I'm anxious to see how this stuff turns. That's, we're doing casting tests right now. And that's fine, how it kind of, the working properties of the resin. But, if the stuff sucks at turning, then it's like a total, which I don't think that's going to be the case. I think most of these things generally all fall within, some sort of a fairly reasonable range, like hardness and, brittleness. I think it's going to be fairly close to, most of your typical epoxies out there. But you never know. I mean, there may be some issues. And the other thing is I'm used to Alumilite, and it works great. For these big ones, it turns nice. Everything's good. It's not brittle, or there's no problems with it. And I guess I'm just kind of used to how it works. So it'll be a good comparison to what I'm used to when we turn one of these things. Which I'm kind of thinking, either like we could still do like an egg shape. Or like maybe a sphere. The egg is a little bit easier, which that's why I'm mentioning that. I might go with like an egg shape because you don't need to get it perfectly sphere, which just takes a little bit longer. So I might go with like an egg kind of shape or something, but I don't know. We'll see. James likes red. All right. How are we doing? We got 3 minutes left. So it hasn't been that bad. Now I haven't been, stirring like crazy, I guess. But I think if you mix something in a bucket for 8 minutes, I mean, good Lord, you got to be pretty sure that you mixed it up good enough. Now, you still got to scrape the bottom, the bottom of the cup and the sides of this bucket. Otherwise, it's not going to be mixed up that well. So just make sure you do that. But this wasn't so bad. Like I said, nice and thin. One thing I didn't do was get kind of a close-up so you could see how this mixed. That was kind of stupid. Sorry about that, guys. But is that the right one? Yeah. Let me try and swap these guys out and see what's going on. I should have probably done a timer for the other one. So, I mean, it's pretty thin. Like I said, it's about the same viscosity as Alumilite. Easy to mix. Nothing going on there. So that's interesting. So the middle one, which is they call their casting epoxy, I think. Let's see. Let me look at the thing again. All these different, yeah. They call it casting epoxy. That one was fairly thin, reasonable viscosity once you got it mixed up. Their regular countertop epoxy is pretty thick stuff. It was about the same as Amazing Clear Cast. And then this stuff is pretty thin. I mean, this is, Alumilite Liquid Diamonds thin, which I like. I like this stuff. So, out of the three, this is my favorite to mix. Question is, can it handle big pours? We got 1 minute left of stirring. And the stir stick that I'm using, it's just a piece of HDPE that's like a 1/4 inch thick or so, or I mean an 1/8 inch thick, something like that. 3 30-seconds. "20 seconds, guys. I'm getting blisters." Just kidding. No smoke, no. I think it's fine in a bucket. The longer you leave it in the bucket, though. Who knows? So again, I think that you're looking at, you probably got a good hour of working time with this stuff. Switch camera views again. There we go. I guess I kind of stopped early because I was messing with the camera views, but whatever. I think we're good enough. So we're gonna dump off a little bit, and I'm talking like a very small amount. So let's get back, actually, let's switch right back to that other view. And I think rather than me try to pick this thing up and dump it into a tiny cup, I'm gonna have a tiny cup, and I'm gonna use another cup to just siphon some of this stuff out. So let me actually put this up higher. And we're just going to add a little bit, not that much, to that cup. Dump the rest of this back in there. Try not to waste too much of it, but whatever. And we're going to go with the red. So let's see here. I'm going to move over. I think we're going to go back over here because I can get this other camera in a better angle above us, so you guys can kind of see what's going on while I mix it up. Let's see here. Sorry about that. All right, so we're going to use the red. Now the red is a pretty transparent color, so I think 1 drop is fine, you know. Can you guys see? Yeah, you should be able to see. Are we on the right camera? No. Good thing I looked at that, huh, guys? There we go. Okay, so I'm just going to put a drop in. This is also a ton of resin, so 1 drop ought to do it. But again, the red Alumilite dye is pretty transparent as it is. Did you guys see Carl Jacobson's bowling balls that he turned? Oh man, that was, you know what's funny is, like, after watching the video, I'm like, I can't believe nobody's thought of that. So actually it's pretty light red, so I'm gonna go for another drop. I'm just gonna see what that does, because let's get it a little bit more saturated red. It's kind of looking a little strawberry-ish right now. I like that. I think that's good. Okay. So at this point, we can pretty much start dumping this in. I mean, it's ready to go. Now, the question is, I guess the big question is, what color are we going to do the other one? Yeah, strawberry jelly. I'm thinking let's go for like maybe like a, you know, I want to do a pearl color. Hey, Franklin, thanks, man. Frank Jr., belated happy birthday. Yeah, so how long was it ago? How long are we talking here? But happy birthday, Frank Jr. That's awesome. It's really not that dark. I mean, it's a good red, but it's going to be totally transparent. Here, it'll be totally transparent when we're done. I just need to make sure that it's not like dark, which the blues and some of the other colors of those dyes, they tend to be really dark. And with like a larger blank, they're very hard to see into. Strawberry jelly. Let's see here. Anybody else? What do you guys got an idea for a color? Let's see. We could do. Yeah, no, it was the angle. You were looking at it kind of, but it's pretty. Red's a good one. Red's a good one. Ooh, black. I like that. What do you guys think about black? My only silver would be kind of cool, I think, too. Black. I don't know. What do you guys think about that black? That's kind of an interesting. I got black pearl. We could do like a pewter. We got Caster's Choice pewter. We got platinum silver. I don't know. They got like 5 different silver colors. I think platinum is the best one. If you wanted that. Black, silver, and red. Yeah, I kind of like the white too, but let's see. Let's just try this black and just see what. Let's just see how that works out. So I'm going to switch to the other view here real quick. I got to make sure that I'm on top of this stuff with these views. That's a really tiny amount. We're going to add a 1/4 teaspoon, and that ought to do it. And it's going to be kind of a big 1/4 teaspoon, more than a 1/4 teaspoon, let's say. With the black. Mix it in there. And so what I'm going to try to do, this is one area where I literally am terrible because I haven't done that many gigantic pours, which I'm going to call anything with a 6-inch diameter and above gigantic. It's hard to get like, you know, ribboning, I don't know, like swirl effects, separate, like very well separated and like stays in place kind of thing. Swirls on larger blanks. Typically, you're going to want to wait till the end of the working time. Like I've already said, though, we're not going to wait for, I don't even know actually how long the working time is for this resin, so we're not going to do that. What I'm going to try to do is we're going to pour the majority of this stuff in the pipe and then add the black kind of later on at the end, and then pour a little bit more of the red on top. Okay, so I got to make sure that I'm on the right camera. I am. Look at that. I didn't totally screw up today. Not bad for my first day back doing live. Haven't totally ruined anything. I mispoured something, but we caught it before I ruined everything. Okay, so we got our black pearl. That was Caster's Choice, like I said, and I think we're ready to go. So I'm just going to kind of give this a quick little mixy, and I'm actually going to go get a paper towel to wipe that off because I think we're pretty much done with the stick. Just wipe it off, get it out of the way, so it can't bother us while we're pouring. And kind of the idea is we are trying to see, does this stuff, will it overheat with this size of a blank? It's kind of meant to be poured in large volumes, but, really more for like a resin river table where, maybe you'd have this amount of resin, maybe not though. A lot of times those are kind of thinner channels and like 3 inches deep. So here we go. This is always fun when we pour in a ton of resin into a pipe. Okay. Oh, that was not the way to do that. Okay, it's going to drip. Maybe a little bit more. We don't really want to pour too much at the end, but we want to have a little bit left over. Like I said, I'm really not that good at getting, really good effects with color swirls with big blanks. I just don't have that much experience, and I'm always kind of a chicken. I've done it pretty much with Alumilite only, and I don't want to wait 12 minutes. Like I'm kind of, I don't want it to start setting up or anything. So don't have a lot of experience, but we're going to try and just see what does this actually kind of do. Hopefully. I'm going to go for kind of a tall pour, and hopefully this will kind of drop down in. Another issue with, these kind of larger pipes and stuff like that, like you can't, I guess I could put the cup way down in there, but compared to like a 2-inch blank, where you can get the cup right above the trough and it's not dripping super far, it's a little bit easier. So just want to kind of mention that. Some of the issues that you could have with this stuff. And then what I'm going to do is, to make sure that we can kind of see into the blank, what I want to do is, I still have some left, some of this red left, and I want to pour it all on one side of the blank, just so I have like one side, which I think it's going to be easiest for me to pour on this side of it, for me, from here. Just so I can have kind of one area that's a little bit kind of clear. And I'm going to pour it kind of deep. See, the thing is, it's moving it around. That didn't work. That didn't work at all. I think it's going to be like a black blank at this point. I'm way better at smaller blanks. That's cool. We'll still know if it didn't work. We'll see how it works out. I mean, it might still turn kind of cool, but I think that I just pretty much got it all over the place and mixed everything up. So I think I ruined it. Oh well. Yeah, I do really good pen blanks. As it melts the 6-inch tube. I don't know. We'll have to see how it all works out. So we'll have to see. See, this is one of the other things with PVC pipes, even pen blanks. One of the problems is, especially if you're doing like color swirls, where you're pouring 2 of them in there and like you can't even see what's going on. So like I really feel like I didn't really do very good on that one, but we may get it out of the mold and it may be awesome and exactly what I was going for. I don't know. I think I would need to do a lot more of these things, and I think that after doing that, I think you're probably better off, if you're just trying to get a little bit of like pearl but mostly clear, probably just dump the entire bucket of red in, or the clear in, and then just try to add a little bit of that pearl color at the end. So we'll have to see how this all works out. I still think that the blank's gonna look cool. I'm not like, oh, I totally ruined it. It totally did not do exactly what I wanted. So anyway, I don't think that we need to torch the bubbles. I don't think that's really gonna do anything. All that's doing is clearing the surface. But for turning blanks, I'm worried about the inside of the blank, which they're going to float to the top. So I don't think that we need to worry about that. If you're doing like a resin river table or resin art, where like it's a thin layer and like whatever the top is needs to look good, then you definitely need to torch stuff. But I don't think it's that big of a deal in this case. But anyway, yeah, you could use like basters or like little things, whatever. But anyway, guys, I'm glad that you guys all joined the fun. We'll have to see how this Stone Coat stuff works out. Overall, like first impressions, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it at all. I think that I wasn't super thrilled with the regular one. They're just like countertop one for blanks, because I really don't want a resin that's that thick personally. Maybe it's not that big of a deal to other people, but that's not something that I would want to work with a lot. But that's the one that's meant to be like very thin layers. The other two seem pretty reasonable to work with and everything. We'll have to kind of see, does that one work for larger blanks? And maybe at some point, what is the largest diameter and tall, how big of a pour can you do with that stuff? We'll see. Maybe this one won't work at all, and you have to use less of it. But overall, I mean, it worked fine. I don't think that it worked any different than any other epoxy that I've used, So we'll have to see. I'm going to try and get more information about, more specifics about the demold time, and maybe if I can get the hardness. I did have a question in. I'm going to talk to Mike about the FDA, or I don't know if they have an FDA approval. They say it's food safe. I don't know what that means, so I'm going to try and get more information about that claim for this resin before we do the next thing. But overall, I mean, it's, I think it'll work fine. We'll have to see how these turn out, and then we'll have to see how they turn. That'll be a little bit more kind of, do they work for turning blanks? How do they polish up? All that kind of stuff, and turn. It should be kind of interesting. But overall, though, before we even, started with the Stone Coat, big thank you to James Garwood and Mark Lewin for hooking me up with some British pounds, shredded British pounds, so we could make some pen blanks with them. And I still have more, more of it. Honestly, I think I'm almost certain Mark gave me 3 bags. We shipped 2 boxes to our house. So I think I have another big bag like this from Mark. And then James hooked me up with this one. So we got lots of shredded currency to kind of play with. I'll be doing some more with those. And I will have to figure out what's going on. Like I said earlier, if you weren't kind of in the conversation, I don't think, supposedly you're not supposed to sell for profit anything made with this currency. That's what James said. And so I just really don't want to get anybody in trouble by selling it or doing anything. So what we're going to do is come up with some sort of a giveaway. I don't know exactly how I'm going to do that yet. I'll have to kind of come up with a plan for that. One of the problems with giveaways is they're very time intensive a lot of times. So I might have it run through. One of the reasons I use that, what's it called? Oh, I can't think of the name, but there's like a thing where you have to go and do something. It just makes things a lot easier for me to keep track of. So we might set it up through there. It's free for me to use. It takes care of all the administrative stuff rather than trying to go through comments or something like that on a YouTube video. So I will let you guys know what's going on. And if you are a patron, now don't take this as this is a good reason to become a patron. This is not, I don't do this as normal, but I'm going to save some for my patrons. We're going to do a separate kind of giveaway if you are a patron. So keep your eyes out for that. But anyway, so Sunday I have a video kind of going through Maker Central. I know I didn't really talk that much about the trip, but hands down, it was just awesome. So I'll probably do a little bit more talking about stuff that went on there and, on future episodes, let's say, or live streams. But it was amazing. Thank you to everybody that came up and said hi. It was awesome meeting everybody. We had a blast. And thank you to everybody in Britain that was, just very, accommodating, very helpful, and very nice, very welcoming to that country. So thank you guys for having us. So anyway, guys, I got a couple more things to do. Sorry, I'm looking at this resin. It's starting to kind of thicken up over here and a little bit warm. It's that extra cup that we had. So I'm thinking that this is probably, I didn't time it. I really should have timed it, but I'm thinking that we're probably running up against like about a 40 minutes with this stuff. So I'm going to do some more testing on this and try and figure out what the working time is and all that stuff on these resins. But anyway, what was I saying? I don't know. But anyway, thank you guys for joining the fun tonight. We're going to do another one next week. I got a lot of different stuff. I actually got some, the bog oak, the ancient bog oak from John Clothier that I think we'll probably do on the live stream also. We'll do something with that. So I'm waiting. I got the second package with the other piece at home. So we got that. We got some little, they call them diamond, I think they call them drills for diamond painting that we got in. We got a couple different things, so I'm just going to kind of figure out what we're doing next week, and then we'll kind of move on from there. So again, Fridays, 3 p.m. Pacific time, that's when the live streams happen. And then Sunday, the Maker Central video. You don't want to miss that. It's a pretty good one. Gretchen got most of the video footage, so make sure to check that out. That's my wife, for anybody that didn't know who Gretchen is. But anyway, I hope you guys have a great evening tonight and a great weekend, and I will see you guys all next Friday night, 3 p.m. Pacific time for another live stream.